live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Anne Waodo.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, Nigeria has so far saved over 15 trillion naira from the removal of fuel subsidies from 2023, and that's according to the Finance Minister, Taiwo Oyedele, while presenting the administration's scorecard. African Democratic Congress calls for credible, peaceful and transparent elections as leaders meet International Republican Institute delegation. Hoodlums reportedly attacked Governor Ademola Adeleke's convoy in Osogbo after he collected his certificate of return from INEC. And Israeli military admits for the first time it opened fire on car carrying 5-year-old Palestinian girl, Hind Rajab, killed alongside 6 relatives in the year 2024. And on business news, global oil prices hit a 3-week high amid Strait of Hormuz uncertainty and supply disruptions.
On sports news tonight, the National Sports Commission plans new technical crew for the Super Falcons ahead of the 2028 Olympic qualifiers.
And from the nation's capital, identify principal threats facing the country. President Bola Tinubu tasked Homeland Security Advisor to coordinate 5-year defense plan. Fuel subsidy removal remains one of the significant decisions taken in the overall interest of Nigerians. Well, those are words coming from the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, during the presentation of Nigeria's reform scorecard at the headquarters of the Federal Ministry of Finance in Abuja. According to Mr. Idris, the federal government has stabilized the nation's economy since the removal of fuel subsidy, and it remains committed to improving the lives of Nigerians through sustained savings and financial prudence.
Peace and plenty.
Nigeria's reform scorecard, the benefits, costs and harms prevented is the focus of this news conference organized by the Federal Ministry of Finance. The Minister of Information and National Orientation sets the tone for the conference as he highlights the significance of fuel subsidy removal.
The decision to remove the fuel subsidy was undoubtedly one of the most significant and difficult economic reforms undertaken by this administration. We recognize that it has required sacrifices and adjustments from individuals, families, businesses, and communities across Nigeria.
Relying on statistics, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy presents the scorecard, applauding the removal of fuel subsidy, which he believes has increased savings for the country.
The removal of a fuel subsidy that was quietly bankrupting the country, and the unification of an exchange rate system that had become a source of arbitrage, distortion, and corruption rather than stability. Those decisions came at a real cost, and we're not here to pretend otherwise.
He highlights the benefits of the reforms to Nigerians, describing the criticisms as unfair.
Between June 2023 and December 2025, subsidy savings mobilized the sum of 15.8 trillion naira in resources for the Federation. Many people will say, where is the subsidy saving? As a matter of fact, there wasn't any alert to the Federation account with the description subsidy savings. So the subsidy savings showed up in form of higher collection by customs, because for every 1 naira or $1 of import duty before, at 460 naira. It became $1 at 1,004, 1,003, 1,005.
He also highlights the harms prevented by the reforms.
When 27 states that were defaulting in paying salaries and pension no longer default, today that number is 0. Number of states defaulting. They're paying Nigerians. They're not paying Americans or Europeans or foreigners. They're not paying the rich people. They're paying the average Nigerian who can now put food on the table.
The federal government believes the reform is already transforming the lives of Nigerians, as the government promises to work towards sustaining the gains recorded so far.
Meanwhile, reacting to the perspective of the minister on the four of reform scorecards, the Chairman Advisory Board Center for Economic Policy Analysis and Research at the University of Lagos, Professor Ndubisi Nwokoma, says that while he agrees with economic reforms and saying that they are necessary, he believes that the pain which came with economic decisions could have been avoided. Professor Nwokoma insists that to bridge the gap between the macroeconomic gains and microeconomic situation, government at all levels must be intentional.
We have Dangote, Bua Group, First Bank, Otodollar, and all the Adenuga Junior, Globalcom, determining what happens to growth at the macro level. Then the ordinary man in Akwa Ibom or in Aba or in Kaduna will not feel it. So the reforms are good. It helps the macro level to do well. But we have not taken into account what happens at the lower level. The growth is not inclusive. It is not inclusive. While we agree that the reforms have helped to address the macro fundamentals, it does not trickle down. And secondly, it is controlled by only a few in the economy. So definitely the reforms actually were not well articulated. They were done in a hurry. They didn't take into account the macro implications, and that is why there is suffering going on. At face value, yes, but it does not address the needs of the man at the bottom, at the grassroots. That's basically the reason why. So no matter what we talk about the macro indicators, it does not mean the economy is doing well.
And the African Democratic Congress has called for the 2027 general elections to be transparent, inclusive, peaceful, and free from manipulation, intimidation, and abuse of state institutions. Speaking during the visit of a delegation from the International Republican Institute at its secretariat in Abuja ahead of the elections, the national chairman of the party, Mr. David Mark, stated that the party will do everything within its powers to support an electoral process that meets globally accepted democratic standards. Our correspondent, Gloria Umezuke, reports.
The national chairman of the African Democratic Congress, Senator David Mark, alongside party officials, received a delegation from the International Republican Institute at its secretariat. This is a first visit coming months ahead of the 2027 general elections.
We are honored to be here today and look forward to hearing from you how preparations are going and sharing, any thoughts and feelings you may have towards that. Our pre-election assessment mission will end at the end of this week, where we will be making some recommendations forward on items we have seen from both off-cycle elections as well as our meetings here with a variety of stakeholders.
The national chairman is clear about the party's demands.
We urge federal government to make sure that the forthcoming elections are free, they are fair, they are credible, they are transparent by international standard. And I think that is very important. We're not asking anybody to do us a favor. We're asking all the bodies involved in our election to make sure that they play the role that will make the election internationally accepted.
It further underscores that the 2027 election should not be treated as war or do or die affair. The party further explained the absence of its presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, at the peace accord signing, while proposing stiffer sanctions by the committee against defaulting candidates or political parties.
If it's a peace accord that's supposed to be among all candidates, does it exempt any of the candidates? Why was President Bola Tinubu not there? So if the President Bola Tinubu was absent, why should our candidate be there? But we demonstrated our commitment by being represented by our national legal advisor. We've been signing these peace accords every year. And things happen in election. We don't see any consequences. But here we have a president who says all is fair in politics. So, and we did not hear the peace committee issue a statement or made any pronouncement condemning that statement from the president as sanctioning violence in election.
Now, the IRI, which has conducted more than 270 international election observation missions globally in line with international standards, underpins that all activities and efforts ahead of the 2027 general elections will not only be strictly non-partisan, but crucial to strengthening public confidence and addressing the deteriorating security environment across the country. From Abuja, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
And a moment of celebration quickly turned tense in Osogbo, the Osun State capital, as gunmen suspected to be political thugs attacked the convoy of the governor of Osun State, Ademola Adeleke, at the palace of the Atauja of Osogbo, Obajimo Oyetunji. Governor Adeleke was at the palace for a courtesy visit to the monarch when the incident occurred. And the governor had arrived at about 3:15 p.m. in a motorcade just moments after he received his certificate of return from INEC, with supporters celebrating what they described as a renewed mandate. Confirming that attack, the Osun State Commissioner for Information and Public Enlightenment, Kolapo Alimi, says the assailants were members of a rival cult group.
Osun State had overcome. I brought the light to Osun State. And I drove darkness out of Osun State. Osun State will never see darkness again. We will keep moving forward. Nobody will turn us around again. I'm seeing the opportunity that all my other contestants, they should please come over. Let's join hands together and let's move Osun State forward. Why I'm saying that Osun State is bigger than anybody. And I'd like to seize the opportunity for those who lost their life during the election, may their soul rest in peace. And I'm telling, and of course I'm telling you that all of them that lost their life, I'm promising, the Adeleke family is promising to take their, not government money now. God has blessed us. I'm going to bless all of them that lost their life. Their children will be given scholarship to Adeleke High School and Adeleke University. Just to compensate them. And finally, Mr. President, Jagaban. I really appreciate you, Mr. President, for making democracy to stay in Nigeria. That's all what we want. And I wish you all the best in that 2027 election.
Meanwhile, government workers in Osun State have vowed their continued support for the newly re-elected governor of the state, Ademola Adeleke. They expressed the intention during a reception held at the state secretariat in Osogbo to welcome the governor. The chairman of the Osun State chapter of the Nigeria Labour Congress and the president of the state chapter of the Nigeria Union of Local Government Employees described Mr. Adeleke as a worker-friendly governor.
What you are experiencing has to do with the love from workers, pensioners, and the people of Osun State to His Excellency. This is not far-fetched from the fact that he has treated everyone in Osun State good, fine. As far as the workers' welfareisms are concerned, Mr. Governor is doing excellently well. In all ramifications, I want to pick that of the minimum wage. The minimum wage given to workers and pensioners in Osun State is one in a million. And I want to say that in the history of Osun State, this will be the best table ever since Osun State was created.
As workers, we are not expecting less than what he has been doing for us. And we know Mr. Governor is somebody that will not change what he has been doing for us. We know and we believe. We know that now that he has gotten another term in office, he's going to do.
In part two, after the break, as campaigns begin ahead of the 2027 general elections, we're examining past campaigns and what to expect this time. Please join us again. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. Nigeria has so far saved over 15 trillion naira from the removal of fuel subsidies since 2023, and that's according to the Finance Minister Taiwo Oyedele while presenting the administration's scorecard. African Democratic Congress calls for credible, peaceful and transparent elections as leaders meet International Republican Institute delegation. And hoodlums reportedly attacked Governor Ademola Adeleke's convoy in Osogbo after he collected his certificate of return from INEC. On the foreign scene, the Israeli military admits for the first time it opened fire on a car carrying 5-year-old Palestinian girl killed alongside 6 relatives in 2024. Electioneering season for the 2027 general elections is declared open by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC. Political campaigns are all expected to commence for presidential and National Assembly candidates. But this comes as concerns have been expressed regarding the way political parties go about their campaigns right here in Nigeria. Our political correspondent Larry Lasisi examines the history of the evolution of election campaigns in Nigeria and what this present campaign should be like.
Electioneering process gathered momentum in Nigeria following Nigeria's independence in 1960. Campaigns have been a major feature of the process even before the nation gained independence. From then till date, the political campaigns have always been passionate and intense, built around national issues that meet the yearnings of Nigerians.
Presidential campaigns in Nigeria have tended to be more of personality, clashes as against issues. And even though you couldn't run away from personality issues that time, but you could easily identify the political parties with what they stand for.
For 1979, we saw presidential candidates in Range Rover doing rallies, outreaches across, marketplaces, across towns and villages, town squares, village squares, trying to sell their candidacy.
For the First Republic, their manifesto was very clear, and it looked like they had a blueprint for developmental challenges affecting Nigeria.
This pattern continued into the 1993 election, when political campaigns became like corporate marketing, relying on nationwide jingles and synchronized branding.
MKO, action! Abiola, 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 progress!
The campaigns were reported to have still been issue-based. The 1999 election marked the turning point.
In 1999, we were just coming out of the military regime. It was a controlled, I think more disciplined campaign. Largely
I suspect, because Nigerians were skeptical about the transition from military to civilian. From that point, it has been downhill.
What we've noticed are campaigns that are not exactly issues-based, not focused on policies or ideas or what the Nigerian people really want from the government of the day.
Well, very difficult at the moment for you to even say this is the manifesto of a particular political party. And even when you see the manifesto, it's almost impossible for you to see differences between the two or three political parties.
Social media has also amplified issues.
But the problem with that too is that what they dish out is more propaganda, it's more of disinformation. They're not using the social media even to connect, with the young ones based on issues.
Some ask why the people don't demand more.
I think it goes a lot to show the level of intellectual development within the electoral space. Unfortunately, over time, a lot of Nigerians think more of the personal benefit. And so the question is, what are they likely to get? So that's the major challenge. And I think the responsibility for that advocacy, that awareness, lies with especially our civil society organizations and the media.
As the 2027 election approaches, the expectation is clear. Political parties must rise above personal attacks and identity-driven campaigns, and instead run campaigns that outline sound policies that address the real needs of Nigerians. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
The news at 10 continues now in the nation's capital, where Millicent Walker is standing by to bring us more stories. Hello, Millicent. Over to you.
Hi, Anne. Good to see you. Well, we'll begin with the President's approval for the immediate preparation of a comprehensive national threat assessment and a rolling 5-year strategic defense operations plan to strengthen coordination across Nigeria's defense, intelligence and security capabilities. According to a statement, the President's Special Advisor on Homeland Security, Major General Adeyinka Famadewa, will coordinate and provide Secretariat support for the 11-man committee constituted to draft the Strategic Defense Operations Plan. Other members of the committee are the National Security Advisor, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, the Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, the Minister of State for Defense, Alhaji Bello Matawale, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Olufemi Oluyede, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Waidi Shuaibu, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sunday Aneke, and the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Idi Abbas. The Director General of the Department of State Service, Tosin Ajayi, and the Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, Ambassador Mohammed Mohammed, are also members of the committee. Giving the directive at the Federal Executive Council meeting at the State House, the President is said to have stressed the need for a coherent framework to respond to evolving security threats nationwide. Well, staying with security, the police in Plateau State have arrested a key suspect linked to Tuesday's deadly attack on Bimper village in Mango local government area of the state, which left 25 people dead and 4 others injured. Police Public Relations Officer SB Alfred Alabo confirmed the arrest to Channels Television, saying the suspect in custody is believed to be the mastermind of the attack and a manhunt is still on for other fleeing attackers. In the meantime, the General Officer commanding 3 Division of the Nigerian Army, Major General Maxwell Dangana, has moved his tactical office to Mango local government area of Plateau State for 2 weeks.
I decided to relocate my headquarters from Jos to Mango here. So my tactical headquarters is here. I'm going to be here to have a close view of what is happening and be able to have an on-the-spot assessment per time. Of course, my being here, it is not just the person. My presence is here with a lot of enablers, additional manpower, and all the resources that is required. The Chief of Army Staff has provided all the necessary resources I require to conduct this operation. We'll be beginning with Operation Hard Knot today to crack any knot that is of a problem for us here on the plateau, and particularly in Mangu. We are here to clear every area for the period we're going to be here and make sure that our citizens here are safe and remain very safe.
Meanwhile, in Katsina State, at least 24 bandits have been killed after security forces foiled a planned mass kidnapping in Gidonbawa community, Bakori local government area of the state. The Nigerian Army, DSS, the Katsina Community Watch Corps and local vigilantes reportedly ambushed about 40 gunmen linked to notorious bandit kingpin Ishaya Kwashingawa. The operation led to the rescue of abducted villagers and the recovery of 19 stolen cattle, with security forces now tracking the fleeing bandits. And now to the Federal Executive Council, which has ordered a comprehensive forensic investigation into government processes and procedures following the revelations that trail the activities of the controversial Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council. The Minister of Finance, Professor Taiwo Oyedele, disclosed this while speaking with journalists after the meeting, saying investigations by the ICPC had uncovered additional fictitious bodies within the system. Well, our next report looks at this and other resolutions at the meeting. The Council Chambers in the Presidential Villa is the venue of the Federal Executive meeting, with President Bola Tinubu chairing. The stage is set for the meeting with a 50-point agenda. When the ministers eventually exit the meeting, they brief the press on the resolutions reached.
The President, in his benevolence, has now directed that all seized funds by the Economic and Financial Crime Commission be diverted to NERFund to continue to support the funding of NERFund. The President also directed, and this was also approved by FEC, that all unclaimed dividends from the Capital Market Trust Fund and the Dormant Account Trust Fund, those unclaimed dividends should also be directed to NERFund.
The Minister of Education also adds that a team has been set up to ensure full legal compliance before any funds are transferred to NERFund.
Office of the Finance Minister.
Another resolution has to do with activities of the controversial Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council.
Council has directed that we commission a forensic investigation that will look into our processes, that will look into our procedures, internal control weaknesses that allow some of these things to happen, because the finding discovered that we indeed have additional fake agencies. So what is important is to establish what went wrong, how it can be prevented.
The Minister of Housing said Council approved the provision of 600 four-bedroom terrace duplexes in Abuja for the armed forces, while the Minister of Health says the amendment of the National Mental Health Act to allow for the decriminalization of attempted suicide in Nigeria had also been approved by Council. Well, still ahead on the news at 10, global oil prices hit 3-week high amid Strait of Hormuz uncertainty and supply disruptions. That's in business news. Please join us again. You're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from our studios here in Abuja. The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohamed Partey, says the National Community Food Bank Program is a strategic intervention to address food and nutrition insecurity while improving health outcomes, particularly for mothers and children. Speaking at the Southwest Zonal launch of the program in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, Professor Partey stressed that adequate nutrition, especially during the first 1,000 days of a child's life, is critical to brain development, maternal health, and Nigeria's future human capital. The minister has also commended Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, for her vision, personal commitment, and investment in the initiative.
Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, arrived Ogun State to a rousing welcome by Governor Dapo Abiodun, his wife Bamidele, members of the federal and state executive councils for the launch of the Southwest Zonal National Community Food Bank, as well as the commissioning of the 180 units of housing named after former President Muhammadu Buhari and the 250-bed Gateway Medical Center in Abeokuta, the state capital. The initiative is designed to provide food support for children, lactating mothers, people living with disabilities and other vulnerable households, reduce acute malnutrition and improve agriculture value chain.
A food bank is not a food hub, like most people who take out one, but it's a food bank meant for those who are disadvantaged, and every individual there is for free.
It's also designed to be domiciled within and coordinated alongside community primary health care centers, bringing it closer to the vulnerable groups.
The government in this zone, to set up community centers in their respective cities, in partnership, not with me, but with the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, to facilitate the supply of food items and provide the operational support required for the sustainability of this initiative.
The coordinating Minister of Health, Professor Ali Pate, applauds the First Lady and urges state governments to expand the program.
The food bank obviously is something that you have conceived, and it shows your commitment to ensure that no woman or child and no family goes to bed hungry as we work to tackle long-standing malnutrition challenges nationwide. It aligns perfectly with the President's agenda, the New Hope agenda.
Governor Dapo Abiodun joins in the commendation, noting that they align with the state's welfare and health priorities.
Ability has no political, ethnic, or religious identity. Your concern for women, children, the elderly families, persons with disabilities has added a duty-human dimension to the renewable agenda of the federal.
The federal government is also urging private sector organizations, development partners and civil society to support the implementation of the program to improve living standards nationwide.
And that's it from the nation's capital. Over now to Anne in Lagos for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Millicent. The Nigerian Institute of Management has celebrated its 65th anniversary with a colloquium stating and marking 65 years of advancing professional management practice right here in Nigeria, celebrating a legacy of leadership, development, capacity building and contribution to corporate governance and national economic growth. The ceremony took place at the Institute's Management House at the Victoria Island area of Lagos and had in attendance leaders in corporate governance.
The Nigeria Institute of Management 65th Anniversary Colloquium attracts directors, chief executive officers and key figures from both the public and private sectors. This year's theme sounds a strong tone, NIM at 65, celebrating national impact of management excellence in Nigeria. The NIM President's welcome address kicks off the milestone gathering.
It's a gathering of intellectuals. We have carefully invited the 65th anniversary colloquium. It's one of the key events that marks the entire celebration of NIM at 65, which spans the entire rest of the year.
The keynote address focuses on corporate governance, capacity building, sustainability and technology. It highlights these pillars as essential tools for national transformation. The speaker also charges Nigerian leaders to prioritize integrity and trust to drive true economic productivity.
These four principles, governance, capacity building, sustainability and technology and optimization are not isolated concepts. They reinforce one another. Good governance creates trust. Capacity building creates capability. Technology creates leverage, sustainability creates continuity, and when these come together, institutions become stronger.
A panel session follows addressing how professional management enhances governance and adapt to modern challenges.
Healthcare management require evidence-based data information on your dashboard that as a manager in the healthcare industry, you will get those information, not just for public consumption, but even for your ability to manage well.
The flagship event also features a goodwill message from the Director General of the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, represented at the gathering.
We congratulate the Council Executives, Management, and members of NIM for over 6 decades. The Nigerian Institute of Management has remained a pillar of professional excellence, driving leadership development and administrative efficiency across Nigeria.
Ultimately, the celebration highlights NIM's 6-decade legacy developing professional managers who drive leadership, innovation, and corporate governance across Nigeria.
A new addition to Lagos's hospitality landscape as Ibis Hotel Lekki has officially opened its doors to customers. The HDV Group says that the 120-room facility is designed to cater to business, travelers, conferences, and tourists in response to the growing demand for internationally branded accommodation right here in Nigeria.
The cutting of the ribbon signals the opening of Ibis Hotel Lekki, adding 120 rooms to Lagos' growing hospitality landscape. Beyond the new facility is a story of resilience, a dream sustained through years of challenges, strengthened by family support and driven by determination. For HDV Group, the investment is a response to the growing demand for internationally branded accommodation that can support business, conferences, and tourism in Lagos.
This investment, like I was telling Her Excellency earlier on, is to promote our country. There are few international hotels in Nigeria, and I'm happy and I'm very, like I told Her Excellency, that we have contributed 255 international hotel rooms to Lagos. And that is our confidence in the government just is our vision to support the government.
Lagos State Government views the investment as a vote of confidence in its economy and hospitality potential.
Beyond the elegance of this building, the rooms that will welcome guests and the services that will be provided here today represent something much more bigger. For us in Lagos, hospitality is not simply about hotels, restaurants and tourism. It is an integral part of our economic ecosystem.
The hotel features soundproof rooms, event spaces for up to 1,000 guests, a restaurant, a terrace lounge, a swimming pool, and modern technology to enhance guests' experience.
We have everything here. Everything that you want to look for when you go on holiday or you want to have a rest from your home, it's here. I can see people gathering here, relaxing, having fun, people networking, people coming in here and getting the best of hospitality that they so desire.
In Ikeja, we've been open now for about 12 years. So we kind of want that same sustainability with opening Lekki. We want the same hospitality. We aim to make Nigeria a better place as well by offering good quality products. And we have 120 rooms, soundproof rooms, that we hope will give enjoyment, will give good tourism and leisure as well.
From an idea conceived years ago to a completed facility, Ibis Hotel Lekki stands as a story of enterprise, resilience, and renewed confidence in Nigeria's hospitality sector.
And a fresh batch of 83 Nigerian evacuees from South Africa have arrived at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos via South African Airways. This flight follows earlier voluntary repatriation efforts prompted by anti-immigrant tensions and protests in South Africa, as nearly 1,490 Nigerian citizens were earlier repatriated through government-coordinated voluntary flights. The current repatriation is courtesy of interventions and sponsorship of flight tickets by public-spirited and private individuals. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs says that Nigeria will continue to engage South African authorities through diplomatic channels to address the underlying causes of Afrophobia and to prevent violence and discrimination against Nigerians and other African nationals. We delve into the world of business now. Will Ebong is standing by.
Thank you, Anne. Global oil prices have climbed to a 3-week high amid uncertainty over shipping through the Strait of Hormuz and ongoing supply disruptions. Now, Brent crude that rose to $91.42 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate that gained $85.31, their highest level since late July. Now, the gains followed conflicting statements from the United States and Iran over the Strait of Hormuz. And with tensions this high, traders fear a prolonged disruption could tighten global supplies and push prices higher. And now the Nigeria Customs Service Apapa Area Commander set a new record for his highest single-day revenue collection. The command generated more than 28 billion naira in just 24 hours, surpassing its previous record by about 8 billion naira. The development comes weeks after the command also posted a record 323 billion naira monthly revenue collection in July. And the Customs Area Controller Emmanuel Shoba, says the record is not just about revenue figures, but about the contribution of the service to Nigeria's economic development. Now we turn to the UK, where we see inflation accelerated in July as higher household energy bills pushed prices up, ending a brief period of easing for consumers. Inflation rose 2.9% year-on-year, up from 2.6% in June, according to the Office for National Statistics. Now the rise that matched the expectations from the official data, but exceeded the Bank of England's 2.8% forecast. And back home, we see on the domestic equities market, sell pressure persists on the NGX as investors track Hardell. Inichama tells us more.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the stock market report. Well, expectedly, the market closed in the red today in Nigeria. Investors took out 511 billion naira, and that has kept us in the 155.4 trillion naira level. The oil share is in the red. We lost another point here. So we opened the market at 241,000 level, but we're closing at 240,000 level. In spite of this, there are some gainers, but not so strong, I guess. That's why they were not able to pull all of this through. HM Core, for instance, is the gainer today, gained 10%. UACN also gained, and you can see the difference between that and this, really huge there. AVA cap again is in the green trend, and it's been doing this since last week. Today it's gained more than 6%. On the flip side, we see the losers, and we see Internet International also. They lost, but the biggest drag down we saw in the market today came from Aradel. Aradel today opened at 1,526 naira, but closed at 1,374 naira 20 kobo. Lost 152 naira 60 kobo. A lot of profit taking happened right here, and it's a huge market mover. So that's why the market is in the red. FCG Insurance also lost some. So once again, this week it's just been a bear week.
let's check out the closing numbers for other major stock markets now. And that's business news. I'm Will Ibong. Is back to Anne for more on the news at 10.
Thank you, Will. And on the foreign scene, let's join Simon Peasy for more international news and around the world in 5 from our London studio.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The Israeli military has confirmed for the first time that it opened fire on a vehicle carrying 5-year-old Hind Rajab and 6 members of her family in Gaza City during the war in Gaza. The Palestinian child initially survived the attack in January 2024 that killed several family members, but her body was recovered days later along with her relatives. After the attack, Hind managed to answer a telephone call from the Palestinian Red Crescent Society, which lasted hours. An ambulance it sent to reach her in a move coordinated with the Israeli army was then shelled, killing 2 paramedics. In a statement, the Israel Defense Forces said that following a review it would be opening a criminal investigation. Hind's killing was internationally condemned around the world. The former Ukrainian Defense Minister Mikhailo Fedorov has called for wartime elections in what is widely seen as the biggest challenge to Volodymyr Zelensky's presidency since Russia's full-scale invasion 4.5 years ago.
Democracy cannot be held hostage by Russia.
In a video posted on YouTube on Tuesday, adding that Ukraine is fighting precisely because we want to remain a free European state. Since the war broke out in 2022, Ukraine has been under martial law, which means elections are suspended. Fedorov, who did not mention Zelensky by name in the video, was unexpectedly fired from his role as defense minister last month, just 6 months after his appointment.
Defense policy cannot remain in a temporary state. But the problem is much broader than a single position or a single ministry. We must answer a fundamental question. How should the state function if the war goes on for years? And the next, if the war continues for another year, 2 or 3. Can Russia effectively gain the right to determine when Ukrainians can choose a government again? I am convinced that it cannot.
The United States has issued a rare rebuke of Israel after reports emerged it struck a Syrian military airbase near the Turkish border, calling the attack an unnecessary escalation. 8 airstrikes hit the Abu Duha airport runway and storage facility, according to Syrian state TV, although there were no reports of any injuries. Israel, while not commenting on the strikes directly, said Syria was on the verge of breaching the security status quo, accusing Damascus of allowing Turkish troops to deploy to the airbase. Syria and Turkey blamed the Israeli military for the attacks that they said threatened to escalate tensions in the region. US President Donald Trump said he will delay imposing new tariffs on a wide array of Canadian goods for 3 days as the countries firm up a trade deal. The announcement came less than 2 hours before a 50% levy on nearly $20 billion of Canadian imports was set to be in place. The two sides have been at an impasse on several issues, including US tariffs on autos and many Canadian provinces banning American liquor sales. Trump and the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney spoke twice this week, and trade negotiators have been engaged in intense talks since July, after the US president threatened the new levy with a deadline of the 19th of August. The death toll from a ferry disaster on Zimbabwe's Lake Kariba has risen to 93, which makes it the country's deadliest transport disaster. That's according to a newspaper in the country. The ferry had a capacity to carry 90 passengers, but the paper estimates at least 168 people were actually on board when it was hit by a strong wave and overturned a week ago. President Emerson Mnangagwa declared a state of disaster following the accident, and search and recovery efforts are continuing by divers. The lake, which straddles the border with Zambia, is one of the world's largest man-made reservoirs, supporting transport and fishing and providing vital hydroelectric power to both countries. South Korea's joint annual military drills with the US will be cut short by 6 days at the request of Washington. That's according to its defense ministry. Seoul said that the period and scale of the 2026 Ulki Freedom Shield exercise had been adjusted due to a proposal on the US side. The drill will now conclude on the 21st of August rather than the 27th as planned. It comes after Donald Trump announced plans to curtail exercises with South Korea, citing his very good friendship with North Korea's Kim Jong-un. And more than 200 gold statuettes of Austria's most famous composer have disappeared from his hometown in Salzburg. The Mozarteum Foundation unveiled 320 statuettes, barely 50 centimeters high, showing Mozart with his dog. They were designed by German conceptual artist Ottmar Hall. Within 2 weeks, more than 80 of the polymer figures had disappeared, and on Wednesday, a total of 210 were missing. The mini Mozarts populated not only the garden of the composer's former house, but also his living quarters, as well as several pavilions. Hall intended to sell the statues for around €100 once the exhibition was over, meaning whoever ran away with the 210 mini Mozarts has not become an overnight millionaire.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. The National Sports Commission has hinted that Super Falcons will get a new technical crew in place before they resume their Los Angeles 2028 Olympic qualifying campaign in October. On Monday, Nigeria Football Federation asked Super Falcons technical crew to step down following the team's disappointing campaign at the Women's African Cup of Nations. But development leaves the Federation with the immediate task of finding a new technical direction for the 10-time African champions. The Commission's Director General, Bukola Olopade, stressed the importance of securing Nigeria's return to the Olympic. And Spanish giant Real Madrid officially unveiled a new midfielder, Bernardo Silva, today at a private event held without the press except for club media. Silva, who completed his transfer from Manchester City on a 3-year contract, expressed his enthusiasm, calling the move a dream come true. Club president Florentino Perez presented the 29-year-old Portuguese international with his new jersey alongside the club's iconic Champions League trophies, finalizing a low-key presentation designed to let the player immediately join pre-season training with his new teammates. And Spain's World Cup winning captain Rodri has said he is ready to feel that excitement again after completing his move to La Liga champions Barcelona from Premier League side Manchester City. Rodri has signed a deal that will run until 2030, bringing an end to one of the longest-running transfer sagas of the summer. After 2 failed bids, Barcelona agreed to pay Manchester City $88.6 million for the 30-year-old. That sports is back to you, Anne.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Taiwo Oyedele, today announced that Nigeria has so far saved over 15 trillion naira from the removal of fuel subsidies since 2023. The minister made this revelation while presenting the administration's scorecard in Abuja. And the African Democratic Congress is calling for credible, peaceful and transparent elections as leaders meet International Republican Institute delegation. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Mwawadu. Good night and please stay safe.